Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys 1/6 scale Star Wars The Mandalorian figure unboxing and review. Today, we're taking a look at the Imperial Praetorian Guard based off his appearance in Mandalorian Season 3. Now, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. I've popped a link to their site in the description below, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you do decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as a brand new Hot Toys Star Wars figure review goes live on the channel. As for the box art, in typical Hot Toys Star Wars fashion, they've kept it pretty simple. We've got an image of the figure himself up front, just below him a metallic foil Star Wars logo, another image of the Praetorian on the glossy wraparound banner, and we've got Mandalore in the background. Yellow and blue, that must be the banner color scheme that they're planning on using for the rest of the Mandalorian Season 3 figures. On the side of the box, almost a full body shot of the Praetorian. They've just cut off his feet at the bottom. And then around the back, warnings, legal information, as well as Hot Toy store locations. Say what you will about Season 3 of The Mandalorian, while it wasn't perfect Star Wars television, I enjoyed certain parts of it. Was it as good as Seasons 1 or 2? Absolutely not. But the Praetorians, they were a highlight for me. I'm an Imperial Trooper fan, and seeing Royal Guard looking characters wearing Mandalorian T-visor helmets? Yeah, I couldn't wait to get one of these bad boys in. And yes, you did hear that correctly, I only picked up one Praetorian Guard. For now. Because seeing the slipcover image featuring 3 Praetorians facing off against Paz Vizsla, I don't mind if I do. I'm now strongly considering picking up at least a second one of these. First in-hand impressions for the Praetorian. So far, so good. I am getting Royal Guard vibes with the darker red for the outfit underneath the lighter red robes. What we're going to do now is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Starting off with the display base first. Nothing special really, it's just the normal Hot Toys Imperial flooring style base mold. Could this be the inside of the Imperial outpost on Mandalore? Sure, absolutely, why not? We've got some silver chipping around the edges of the panels. The nameplate says Star Wars and Imperial Praetorian Guard on it, then up top, an adjustable crotch grabber. The array of weapons here are really cool. This one is particularly interesting because it's got this silver cable that sits over the top of the inside part of the blade. The blade is cast in translucent plastic, but there's some more opaque purple paint around the back to make it look like it could be a glowing energy-based weapon. Do be careful of the sharp edge on the inside, it's genuinely prickly. Don't try and bend this. Trust me, it is not wired. It seems like it could be, but it isn't. These metal links, they don't go all the way through the translucent pieces, so it's just meant to be a straight energy sword, not a bendy wire whip or something like that. It's the little details like this that get me. They've sculpted in these ribbed buttons that look like sliders. You know, you'd push them and then you'd be able to separate the top and bottom parts of this weapon. In 1:1 scale, maybe that's the case. In 1/6 scale, you literally just rip them apart, check the instructions, and you'll see what I mean. Down below, we've got this multi-pointed silver spike that looks like a garden stake, perhaps, that you'd stick into grass with a little silver wire over the top. Then, on the other end, a translucent blade that looks very similar to the blade on the other energy weapon. So when you separate them, they've included these silver cap cover pieces that are keyed so they only go in one way and they fit in there nice and securely. There's still enough of a lip so that you can grab them and pull them out. That way they look like 2 completed weapons. There's no random open peg ports at the bottom of them. Initially, and I was right there with y'all, people thought that The first prototype for the Praetorian Guards reused Deadpool hands. Luckily for the final product, not the case. These are brand new sculpts, and they look all the better for it. There is so much texture on the surface, with the leather grain and the wrinkling and the stitching. The first pair that we have to look at are these splayed out finger open palm hands. Then we've got two gripping hands, but the fingers are really rigid, so trying to pry them open to wedge the weapons in there is going to be a challenge. Maybe grab yourself some hot water or a hairdryer. Then lastly, right out of the box, he comes wearing two open palm hands. What we're going to do now is get the Praetorian Guard himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. What a beastly looking figure. He's jacked. He's really broad at the shoulders and the armor bulks him out. The outfit itself pops because of how vibrant it is. The helmet design is really cool to look at. This guy's got a lot going for him, but also a lot working against him because, Mandalorian Season 3. I liked, as I said in the unboxing segment, certain parts of it, and the Praetorians were one of those parts. These dudes kicked some serious butt. So as soon as Hot Toys announced them, I knew I had to have at least one. Up close and personal, kicking things off with his helmet. Am I the only one that sees the old prequel trilogy Senate Guard helmet design in this helmet, with the split down the middle of the T-visor? Because it's coming through, and I'm not mad at that at all. Yes, he's not blue, he's red, so that helps differentiate him. But I've always loved that design for those helmets. It would have been cool to have the mohawk up on top. Maybe I'm going a little bit too crazy. The glossy red plastic is nice and shiny. The visor looks like a separate piece of plastic inset into the mold, but that could be painted. It's kind of hard to tell. The front part of the helmet sits down a lot lower than the back does, and it flares out on either side. Oh, this is very Stormtrooper-esque with the circle and the two lines. Normally there's a protrusion, like a little backpack piece on the back armor, but this is completely smooth. It's also cast in the same glossy red plastic as the helmet and everything else. It's a fingerprint magnet, so you can just use the fabric pieces, I guess, to wipe away your fingerprints. Thank you, Hot Toys, for using such fine weave fabric for the tabards and skirt pieces. This one is inserted underneath the top chest armor, whereas the rest of them stick out from the lower ab armor piece. Back around the front, dude looks jacked with the blades over his traps and the big shoulder pads with the separate smaller shoulder pad underneath them and the bicep armor. But I don't think he is. It just feels like a normal padded 1/6 scale body underneath. The armor plating is doing its job. It's making this guy look imposing. We've got some black paint in the line work and this vent up top, and also in this square and the rectangle on these belt pouches. These are two separate pieces, by the way, so for articulation, they should split and give us a little bit more range. The shoulder pads are attached with Velcro, so you can remove them, dial in the pose if you want to get dynamic with him, then pop them right back on. Otherwise, they're going to be bumping into the chest armor and you may do damage to that high gloss finish. The bicep armor is also attached with Velcro. Just make sure there's enough of a gap between these two pieces because that's a point of contact. They'll collide when you're moving the arms around. The undershirt being made out of this dark burgundy maroon red is such a nice contrast against the vibrant red for everything else. And it reminds me of original trilogy Royal Guards, which I think was the original intention behind this color choice. His gauntlets are free floating, just make sure the cutout around the front is facing forward. That way it's not going to collide with the bicep when you try and bend the elbow. You can bring it down to cover up the base of the gloved hands, and that way you're not going to see the wrist peg. These little skirt armor pieces are attached with string up top, and I don't really like the way that looks. It comes across cheap, so I'm going to tuck them up underneath this ab armor piece, and that way those strings aren't ever going to be visible. And just like that, the strings are gone from the front of those armor pieces. His skirt tabards are flared out at the bottom, and they're made of this fine weave 2-ply fabric. I know I've already discussed the weave when I was talking about using it as some kind of wiping cloth for the armor. We've got one around the front, two on either side, and the big one around the back. His pants are made of the same dark red material as what they've used on his undershirt up top. Then we get to the boots. Look at the little fasteners and the seam down the side and the high gloss finish and the step out for the armor around the ankle. I really like the way these look. It's a shame that most of the time they're going to be completely hidden by the fabric for the skirt. His shoes have some leather grain texture on them, some sculpted detail around the edge of the sole, and also some tread on the underside. For a quick side-by-side comparison, on the left, the new Imperial Praetorian Guard from Mandalorian Season 3, and on the right, the Royal Guard from the original trilogy. While they didn't get up to much in Return of the Jedi, I've always loved the look of the Royal Guards. They're so mysterious with the flowing robes and the force pike and then the glossy, vibrant red helmet. Clearly, Praetorian Guards shop at the same place as the Royal Bunch because the reds are a match for the undershirt, the robes, and the glossy plastic armor. Even though it doesn't really make a ton of sense to display these two together, could I potentially see a world where I do just that? Yeah, probably. Oh, no. I never realized, I guess, how short the sequel trilogy Praetorians are. Yeah, he is. Compared to the Praetorian from Mando, significantly shorter. While the fight scene was pretty cool that featured these guys on the right, it was flawed, and I don't think the design is anywhere near as cool as the Mandalorian one is. Incorrect, Moff. I know he's not meant to have the moustache, and he's supposed to be in his Super Trooper armor, or Super Commander, whatever the hell they call it. That guy's not out yet at the time of filming this video. This is the Mandalorian Season 1 Moff Gideon, and he's shorter than the Praetorian, but Giancarlo isn't the tallest dude in the world, so I'm okay with this height difference. Speaking of height difference, Paz Vizsla towers over the Praetorian. I know that some people are picking up 3 Praetorians to have posed up alongside Paz Vizsla, and that's sick. I would love to see it. I just don't have the space for that, so for now, he's going to be facing off against only one of them. Going over articulation, starting off with his helmet. There's a ball joint at the base of the neck and another one up underneath the head itself. Just watch out for the front part of the helmet because it sits quite low, and that means when you have him looking forward, it's going to collide with the chest armor. Going back to there, swivel, and tons of pivot side to side. I would recommend taking the shoulder pads off, doing the pose, and then popping them back on, but if you want to leave them there, you absolutely can. His arms will go up to there, going forward and back on very stiff ratchets. There's a butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow on ratchets going past 90, then for the wrist peg, it's a hinge and swivel. His torso crunches forward to there, pretty limited, going back to there it gets gappy, swivel and pivot side to side. His legs will go forward to there on clicky ratchets, going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh, double bend at the knee on ratchets going past 90. And lastly, for the ankle, a double ball peg and a split cut boot design. Good for forward and back rotation, as well as ankle tilt. Moving on to the 3 cool and 3 annoying things. The first annoying thing is, usually we're buying Hot Toys figures for their detail, the sculpt and the paint. In this instance, there's pretty much no paint to speak of. We've got some black, but that's it. All of the armor plating is just glossy cast red plastic. These are not painted surfaces. The second annoying thing doesn't bother me at all, but I know it's going to bother some people. These skirt pieces are not wired. So they literally just hang there. If you want to get dynamic with the posing, you can't move these around to sell that pose. The third annoying thing is a small quality of life one, but it can be very frustrating to deal with. The hands are made of some of the stiffest plastic that I've ever seen Hot Toys use. So switching them out onto the wrist pegs is anything but easy. You're going to have to heat up these hands to pop them on the body. The first cool thing is we get some really unique weapons, and 3 of them, so if you perhaps want an army build, I know a very expensive army to build in this scale, you can have each Praetorian guard holding a different weapon. The second cool thing is no pleather. There's no pleather on this entire piece. Full fabric outfit, we can go crazy with posing and we don't have to worry about creases or peeling or flaking or damage over time. The third cool thing is this design was destined to be a 1/6 scale figure because it looks so toyetic. It borrows some of the best original trilogy and sequel trilogy and prequel trilogy costuming and merges it into this one suit. We've got the Senate Guard looking helmet with the split T-visor, the glossy red plastic armor from the sequel trilogy, then the dark red and lighter red undersuit/robes from the original trilogy Royal Guards. Wrapping up on the Imperial Praetorian Guard from Mandalorian Season 3. Not the best season of Mandalorian, but one of the best new Disney era trooper designs. This outfit, this look for a Praetorian Guard, just slaps in my opinion. It's bright, it's colourful, it's shiny and reflective, so the surface of the armour looks visually interesting as it reflects light. The helmet is a perfect blend between the Senate Guard and Mandalorian helmet, and stuff from Knights of the Old Republic and the Royal Guard. And the outfit is full fabric, so you can go crazy with the poses. At the end of this, he's one of my favorites in the line now. I never thought that was going to be the case, but when you get a figure that has this much presence and looks this darn good, you can't help it. He's working his way up to the top of my list at this point. Top 10 Mandalorian figures easily for me. But the question is now, do I pick up more? 1, 2, 3? How many Praetorian Guards do I need in the collection? I started with 1, I thought I'd stick with 1, ain't gonna happen. At least 2 need to be flanking the Super Commando version of Moff Gideon. Or battling Paz Vizsla, that's a display option I'm considering as well. Now, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. I've popped a link to their site in the description below, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you do decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.